Hi there and welcome to the latest England Golf podcast. My name's Ian McFarlane and I'll be your host as we take a look at what's happening behind the scenes in the world of English amateur golf. The All-Party Parliamentary Group for Golf has presented a thorough and updated scientific paper to government for the safe return of golf, and the decision, as always, lies with the Westminster authorities. While we await news from Downing Street, we look ahead to brighter times with three excellent guests. Coming up on the podcast, Georgia Hall recently took time out from her practice routine ahead of the LPGA season to deliver a brilliant Q&A session to England squad players, coaches and key staff. We caught up with the England Golf graduate to talk about her amateur days, Solheim Cup hopes for 2021, the dream of winning a second Women's British Open, and her determination to inspire the next generation of stars. In the pro ranks, beefed up Bryson De Chambeau has dominated the headlines by piling on the pounds and developing a power game that threatens to outmuscle his rivals. But should England's top junior golfers follow his example? We hear from Dan Coughlan, who works with England Golf and the European Tour, on the strength and conditioning study that busts the myth about youngsters and resistance training. And England girls squad player Lottie Woad had an eventful 2020, where forest fires and floods all played a role in a year best described as character building. But don't worry, the Surrey teenager is made of stern stuff and is one to watch for 2021. So sit back and I hope you enjoy what we have in store on this latest edition of the England Golf Podcast. Now, fitness and strength and conditioning has become of huge importance to the modern day athlete, and golf is no exception. It's great to be joined now in the podcast by Dan Coughlan, one of the backroom boys here at England Golf, but undoubtedly a key figure within the performance team setup. I suspect if you ask those involved at the highest level of the European Tour, they would also have the same opinion of Dan. Dan is the national lead for sports science and medicine at England Golf. He's also head of strength and conditioning at the European Tour and a senior clinical teaching fellow in sports medicine, exercise and health at University College London. In short, if you want to know about fitness, conditioning and how to prepare as an elite golfer, then Dan's your man. Dan, welcome to the podcast.
Hi Ian, thank you and thanks for the great introduction.
That's okay, you can pay me later, don't worry about that. Now, there's a huge interest in the strength and conditioning side of the game, Dan, thanks to this development of the golf athlete, if you like, in the last 20 years. First we had Tiger, what a phenomenal physical specimen he was and how he translated that into his golf game. Rory obviously capitalised on the back of that, Brooks Koepka, Dustin Johnson, etc. And in the last year, Bryson De Chambeau has really spiced things up, hasn't he? Putting on, I think, 45 pounds of muscle during lockdown, which added maybe 40 yards to his drives as he kind of bludgeoned his way around the PGA Tour. As someone who deals with pros in your work at the European Tour as well as amateurs with your work at England Golf, when you see somebody like Bryson doing what he does on the golf course, what's your thoughts? Is it a kind of wow like the rest of us, or how do you appreciate that?
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I mean, from our perspective, we've been trying to push this message over the last 10 years or so. And as you say, it's kind of grown in momentum with guys like Tiger originally, but moving on to Bryson more recently. And it just really helps our message. We've been saying for a long time that people should be looking at getting bigger as well as stronger, as well as more explosive. And when you get these key figures taking their games forward in such a way, it just helps that kind of sales pitch, I guess. Golfers start to believe us that it might actually help them. And then we start to get a lot better engagement with the players that we try and support. So, I'm all for it. I think it's fantastic.
Now, for people of my generation, Dan, golf was always seen as an art rather than a science. And there's this debate that goes on at the moment. Should it be more artistic? Should it be more scientific? It should be about finesse and touch rather than power and strength. So, I mean, from your perspective, what side of the argument do you fall on?
Well, I think it's both, isn't it? These guys get paid to win tournaments, so whatever helps someone win a tournament within the sort of boundaries of the rules is good in my book. So why would you not pass up the opportunity to get better at the game? Whether it's improving your nutrition, whether it's training in the gym, whether it's warming up a bit better, as well as all the skill components of the game. These things are just going to fine tune, increase the chance of winning tournaments, and that's what these guys are trying to do.
Just from your work on the European Tour, Is everybody doing this now? Is everybody working on power and strength? Or are there still some people there who rely, if you like, on natural talent? It's, hand-to-eye coordination and all the kind of things that maybe 20, 30 years ago people prioritised. Is there a balance, or has it moved completely to the power and strength side?
Yeah, there's always going to be a distribution of people that put in different amounts of work in different areas of the game. You could say the same around certain areas of their skill development. I'm sure some people spend more time on the driver and some people spend more time putting. But certainly what we are seeing is that there's an ever increasing amount of people who are doing something. So for example, we recently did some observational work at the Open Championship a couple of years back, just observing players, how they were using the gym, what they were doing. And we also put out some questionnaires to a European Tour event. And across both of those little studies that haven't been published yet, we found that pretty much, 100% of golfers were saying that they were doing some sort of physical warm-up on the European Tour. So that means that everyone that we questioned was engaged in some way in strength and conditioning and physical preparation. And when we were watching the players sort of train and use the gym at the Open, we were seeing 70, 80 players coming in per day to use that gym. So the uptake seems really quite substantial. And even in the period of time I've been working with the tour, so over the last 6 years, I've seen a real shift in the percentage of players that we're seeing engaged. On top of that, we're also starting to see a shift in the amount of players who are engaged with kind of high level sort of proper strength training, as opposed to just dipping their toe in the water and staying fit. So there's a good chunk of players on the European Tour now that we could pick up, throw in some different clothes, chuck them into a gym with a bunch of other athletes, whether they're track and field athletes or whether they're, MMA athletes or whatever. And you wouldn't necessarily tell who's the golfer without speaking to them. So we're definitely seeing more engagement, and we're definitely seeing better quality training over time as well.
And that's a huge shift, isn't it? Because 20 years ago, you could have picked out the golfer in a gym. If you put an array of 10 sportsmen or women, you could probably pick out the golfer from the identikit lineup.
They were hiding from the weights in the corner doing some flexibility work. But that's certainly becoming less common now. They're doing things that are much more like other sports.
Now, when you relate this to junior golf, and you obviously work with the boys and girls squads here at England Golf, that's perhaps a more delicate subject, because again, the perception over the years, I'm sure you'll say it's a myth now, was that juniors shouldn't really be lifting weights and be involved in the power and strength while they were still developing as human beings, as growing, going through their growth spurts as teenagers. But you've been involved in a recent study to do with strength and conditioning in teenagers. Perhaps can you tell us a little bit about that and how that relates to the golfing world and what the findings of this study were, Dan?
Yeah, definitely. Sure thing. So I guess just to start with, so my study didn't look into the health and the misconceptions that you've kind of alluded to there. So I'll start with that and then move into the study. But the idea that resistance training is bad for young people is a definite myth. There's a huge body of work, loads of research that shows us that strength and conditioning is really, really positive. It has lots of positive benefits, from health benefits to performance benefits to injury risk reduction benefits. So kids should be resistance training, really, whether it's for their golf performance, whether it's just to improve their bone density and reduce their risk of fractures or injury in elderly age, as they grow, or whether it's just to be healthy, to lose a bit of weight if they're struggling with that kind of things, or improve their insulin sensitivity or whatever. Like, there are so many health benefits to resistance training, whether you're young or whether you're old, that it's a really, really good thing for people to be engaged with. And like I say, there's a huge body of evidence that supports resistance training for young people. And then I guess moving on from that, Bill, in terms of looking at these young people as potential future athletes and high performance on, say, the European Tour, building a foundation in the kind of skills and competencies around strength and conditioning is really, really important, regardless of the performance benefits, which I guess my study looked at and I'll talk about in a second. But, really, if we're looking at a potential tour player, once you get onto tour, let's say you're 25 years old, you get onto tour, you're competing in 35 tournaments a year. The 2021 season, normally would start in like November of 2020 or something. It's kind of non-stop around the world all the time. Trying to build a foundation in sort of physical strength and conditioning in that kind of mess of trying to compete all the time is really, really difficult. But when you're an amateur, and certainly as a junior amateur golfer, you have really long off seasons and you have lots of opportunity to build a fantastic base that can set you up for the future, which will, give you so many benefits in terms of injury risk reduction, as well as performance, as well as health. So there's this fantastic opportunity when a golfer is young to develop a base that can sort of send them on a forward trajectory once they hit the tour, and they're just sharpening the sword, as it were, as opposed to having to develop all the skills when you're a professional in a really busy schedule. So building that foundation for me, I think, is really, really important as well. But then moving into the study, because the study was more around like the performance aspects of training for young golfers. We took a bunch of young county golfers and we offered out some strength and conditioning to them just once a week. So it wasn't a huge commitment. And we had a control group that weren't doing any resistance training. They were just carrying on with their normal golf and just continuing as they normally would train around the golf side of things. And this was set up in a really sort of feasible way for counties. And I think this is an important thing to mention. So we did this, and we got the parents to kind of commit to supporting the study. So they brought the kids along to a gym once a week. They self-funded the training, and we made it really, really affordable as like kind of a group thing, so we could get lots of county players involved. Parents kind of really got on board, the county coaches really got on board, and we got them into the gym once a week over a 12-week period. And we did this over the winter as well, so it's in the off season, because it was kind of the easiest time to get everyone going. The golfers could commit more time to training. And we really just took them through a very basic strength and conditioning plan. So they came in and they started just doing some basic exercise. They learned how to squat. They learned how to do a push-up. They learned how to do a pull-up or a row, basic exercises. As they got better, we added a bit of soft resistance. So they just started to get used to some dumbbells or some light weights or some bands. And then as they got better at that still, we moved them on to some heavier resistance. So they were doing proper squats and deadlifts and bench pressing and all that kind of stuff with weight. And then we moved them, where appropriate, onto sort of more advanced exercises still. And we did this in like a really good fun way. Like the kids really enjoyed it. They had a great time. And we got certain results, which I'll talk about in a second. But we did this in such a sustainable way that even now, many years on from the study, so even though the study was published in 2020, I think it was done maybe around 2017, 2016, something like that. The county squad sessions and meetups and training once a week is still going on to this day, outside of COVID.
Sure.
So, this has become a really sustainable once a week commitment for the county. In terms of results, what we saw was that there was a 4 and a bit mile an hour difference in the club head speed between the people who did the intervention for 12 weeks and the county players that chose not to do the intervention for that 12-week period. And I think that's really important as well, because 4 and a bit miles an hour, it's quite substantial. That's enough to change your club selection in your next shot.
People maybe don't understand how that translates, what's 4.25 miles per hour, but you're talking maybe 15, 20 yards in terms of hitting a golf ball, which, as you say, changes a 5 iron to a 7 iron, or a 7 iron to a 9 iron, which obviously improves your accuracy and your chance of posting a lower score. Just to go back to the groups, Dan, I mean, I think 39 people were involved in the study, aged between 11 and 17. And the kind of key aspects that you were looking for in a golfing perspective, once you had done all the strength and conditioning training, was testing club head speed and ball speed, which combined produces the smash factor that people talk about now. Were the students themselves surprised when you came out with those results? Club head speed increased by 4.25 miles per hour, ball speed, I think, increased by 4 miles an hour as well, and obviously the combination produces this smash factor and the increased distance. Were the students surprised when you relayed the results to them?
Yeah, I think they were really, really happy and really surprised. We tried not to get them in thinking that they were going to make massive improvements. I mean, we didn't know what improvements they were going to make, and we just sort of took it day by day. We did the testing at the beginning. We didn't set any particular expectations because we didn't want to, make them think that it was going to lead to something that it might or might not. So yeah, at the end of it, they were buzzing. They thought it was fantastic. And what we've seen with a lot of those players is that they've continued to make those sorts of improvements. And we have now one player who's got into the England boys squad, who was in that initial cohort, and we've got another player who's in one of the county regional squads, and they're really big hitters now. They were okay at the time, but they've been doing training for 3-4 years now. And, the boy in the boys squad is one of the longest hitters in the boys squad. And in the regional squad, we've got, again, another player who's hitting it 125 miles an hour plus. So they're doing pretty well as a result.
Now, this study was just on males. Do you think it would translate in terms of female as well? Should there be any difference in terms of biomechanics and the whole science behind it? Should it translate to the women's game as well?
Yeah, absolutely it should. I mean, separate to this study, we also did a study looking at, physical predictors of club head speed. So if we did some testing on our regional players or our national players, did those testing results predict or strongly relate to the club head speed that the players had? And we did that across boys and girls. And what we found was that similar characteristics were true of both groups. If they improved their counter movement jump, like explosive strength, the amount of force they could put through the floor when they were jumping in the air, if they improved the distance that they could throw balls, or the distance or the amount of force they produced when they were lifting heavy or doing heavy exercises, those kind of force changes were associated with increased club speeds. So we'd expect the same thing to happen across boys and girls, even though this was a boys only study. And from the research perspective, with all the myths and misconceptions around youth training, all the comments that I came across or spoke about earlier are exactly the same with the female group as well. It's perfectly safe and they'll really benefit from doing it. And that's why we do it with the girls squads.
And clearly you've got to get this message across to parents as well, many of whom will be from my generation and who are maybe sceptical about the science in this, but clearly the evidence is there to say this is not only beneficial, but it's also very safe. You're not risking any muscle damage or any longer term damage further down the line.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I can't emphasize that enough. I think one of the biggest issues that we have, although it's not as common anymore, is that kind of worry and concern around what might happen if they start too early. And unfortunately those myths still perpetuate, and people come across all sorts of professionals who say, oh, you should be a bit careful. But there's an overwhelming body of research that shows us that it's really safe as well as effective for young people to be involved. There are obviously a couple of caveats, which are no different to the caveats that you'd have with an adult as well. It's not unique to their age, but it's just you want to make sure that they're getting appropriate guidance, they're getting a good program from a professional, they're being shown how to do things, and they're being kind of progressed in line with their competence and their ability to do those exercises. And you obviously want a degree of supervision at the beginning. But I mean, Ian, that'd be no different to if you were coming to the gym for the first time. We would show you we'd show you the ropes and we'd show you how to use the equipment. We wouldn't just sort of throw you out there and say, get on with it yourself. So no different from an adult, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, this is obviously relevant for our girls and boys squads, but, for your ordinary club golfer out there, somebody like myself, your ordinary, Saturday morning hacker, can there still be benefits for people, 40 plus, 50 plus, taking up strength and conditioning? Can you see differences in your ordinary amateur's game if they embrace this?
Yeah, without a doubt. Again, even bringing it to the tour, actually, to start with, when we work with the tour players, we use this kind of probability of impact model, which is basically our way of saying what's the most likely benefit from you doing resistance training through to what's the thing that we might want, but it's still like maybe the least likely benefit. And for us, the most likely benefit that the tour players are going to have from engaging in resistance training, and this is true of the England players and it's true of your average club golfer as well, is making you more available to play and enjoy the game. People who resistance train have a significant reduction in their injury risk. There's about a 50% reduction in injury risk for like overuse injuries when you resistance train, and about 80% of injuries that golfers experience are overuse or overload type injuries. So you can halve your chance of getting that back pain that might take you out of playing the sport for a little bit in summer. So the biggest benefit is definitely that, alongside that kind of health benefit of availability to train and play. Like if you're fitter, you're less likely to get sick. You're more likely to bounce back from illnesses and be able to play again sooner. So those benefits are probably the most important for the England player, the tour player, and the average golfer. Moving on from that, there's a good body of work that's looked at a high level adult golfers, but has also looked at sort of more standard adult golfers and older adult golfers, and all of those groups improve their distance with training on average. So you're likely to see those same meaningful benefits in distance if you want to hit it a bit further, which have all those associated knock-on effects. And in most cases, you're getting improvements in distance that are similar to what we saw in our group, enough to change your club selection, which has like that meaningful impact on your game.
Excellent. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of amateur golfers out there who would just benefit from not having the aches and pains. If they can add 10 yards to their game in the process, then so be it. But waking up on a Saturday morning and not having to roll very gingerly out of bed before going to the golf course would certainly be an improvement. Dan, that's fascinating. Listen, thanks for your time and explaining all that, and thanks for your continued work with England golf squads, and hopefully we see the results this year and beyond.
Yeah, nice one. Thank you, Ian.
Cheers, Dan. Now, if you follow our next guest on social media, you'll probably get tired just watching the videos of her practising non-stop in her garden. Lottie Woad is gearing up for her second year in the England girls squad, and despite lockdown, the practice net in her back garden in Surrey is taking a bit of a pounding. But the hard work's paying off. Lottie's one of the country's top talents, and that shows in her progress. In the last 3 years, she's gone from being a scratch golfer to +5 handicapper and one of the rising stars of the women's game. In her early years, she was no mean footballer, but Southampton's loss was golf's gain. Lottie, great to have you in the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. So tell us about this work ethic. You seem to be one of the hardest working golfers that we have at England Golf. Do you enjoy that grind even during lockdown?
Yeah, I definitely enjoy it. I just love playing golf, so practice isn't really a chore, it's just an enjoyment for me. But then I know that the more I practice like smartly, the more I'll get better, and then the more chances I'll have at winning events and doing well in events. And I've been playing obviously in the net a lot with the lockdown for the last year or so, and it survived so far, the net, but a lot of grass has gone missing for divots and stuff, but I haven't broken any windows or anything with any flop shots, which is good.
Yeah, that's good, because we've seen you on social media doing various challenges and flop shots and what have you. Is that just something to kind of break up the training and break up the boredom a little bit to try all these new things?
Yeah, it's definitely, it didn't want it to get just too repetitive. Definitely over the summer when it was like the 2020, the massive national lockdown, I didn't just want to be hitting balls in the net all day, so I thought I'd try some different stuff. Then Millie, my sister has a netball net, so we kind of put that up, and I was trying to hit flop shots into it and managed to do it at quite high heights, I guess, and then put it on Twitter, and it kind of just went viral, which was quite nice.
Have you actually tried these on a golf course, or have you been brave enough to do it when you're faced with a tricky shot over a bunker to a tight pin?
Yeah, I do like flop shots, so I'll do them when I have the opportunity or need to. So I actually think it did pay off doing those, because I needed them at a few events over bunkers, and I felt much more confident doing them because I've obviously been doing them the whole lockdown.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you. Now, the girls' squad was announced a few weeks ago. You're in it again for another year, so congratulations on that. And at 17, you're one of the more experienced players alongside Rachel Gourley, because some of the younger girls are coming through. We've got Maggie Whitehead, Kiara Noya, Davina Zan and Patience Rhodes are also in the squad. You've obviously had a few training sessions with the girls. How do you feel that the squad will be this year?
Yeah, I think the team will get on really well together. We've played in events with each other, obviously, and we've all kind of got the same goals and aspirations for the team. And obviously, I knew Rachel. I've known her for a few years now. We first met at the English under-14s at Lyme Regis, and we played together in a lot of foursome stuff when we played in the England under-16s. And we've also entered the Sundell foursomes together, if hopefully it goes ahead. And then Patience, I've known for a few years now as well, since when we went to Czech Republic together with the European Young Masters. So I got to know her really well that week. And then with Maggie, Davina and Kiara, I didn't know as much, but I've played a lot of events with them now and a lot of training camps, so I've got to know them really well. And we all get on really well together, and it's a really good environment to practice and play in.
So what are your hopes and expectations for 2021, Lottie, both as part of the England girls squad and as an individual player?
I think as a team, we all kind of want the same goal, as we're all seeing if we can get a gold at the Europeans. That's just our big aim, and obviously we're doing lots of stuff to try, working together to try and achieve that. I think it's held in the Netherlands this year, so haven't been there, so that's another country I'll get to go to, hopefully, if it's on. And then individually, I'd like to try and qualify for the Junior Solheim Cup team. I know that would be tricky, so I know I just need to do well in a lot of the international events, just see if I can get some top 5s, top 10s, or even a win somewhere would be really nice. And also there's the mixed under 18 event, the new event, the gender mixed one, which will be a really cool event to play in. And also it's held at my home club. So that would be really nice, because I think it's our 125th anniversary. So that would be a really good event to be held there, because the club's really welcoming and it's a great course. So I just hope everyone will enjoy it. And I'll definitely try and take advantage of my home advantage and see if I can play well. Absolutely.
We'll get back to that mixed gender event at Farnham later, because I know as the junior champion you're very keen to promote that and all that's good about the golf club in this, it's, as you said, 125th anniversary season. But if we can just rewind a little bit back to last year, it was a disruptive season for everybody involved at England Golf and in the national squads. But you probably had quite an exciting year when the events came around. You did well in the English Women's Amateur, got into the match play, having played well in the stroke play qualifying. What did you take from that event in particular to kind of kick you on for what remained of the season?
Yeah, that was my first time playing in the women's English Amateur event. Because I think I wouldn't have actually been able to play it in 2020 on the old date, because I would have had GCSEs, but they got cancelled, obviously, so it was a bonus in the end playing in it. And then it was held at Woodall, which I know really well, so that always helps. But I knew it was going to be quite tough going into it, because it was only top 16 qualifying out of the 66, so it was going to be really tight. But I played well in the first 2 rounds, which was really windy. And qualified quite comfortably in third, I think. So that got me onto the match play. And then I won my first round, 4-2, 4-3, I think. And then I was playing Lily May in the quarters. So I knew it was going to be a really tough game, because obviously she's an amazing player.
That was an epic match.
Yeah,
that went on forever.
Yeah, I was 1 down playing down the last, and I held a downhill 8-foot putt for birdie to carry it on. So that was good. And then we went down the 19th, where we halved in pars. So I had a 15-footer for birdie that just missed. That was kind of annoying. But then on the 20th, Lily stiffed it, so I couldn't really do much about that. So at least I lost with a birdie, but I was happy with how I played overall in the event, because it was quite good to compare myself to all the other really good players, especially being my first time playing in the event.
Absolutely. And as well as amateur events last year, you get a chance to play in a couple of pro events. Justin Rose and his wife Kate had set up the Rose Ladies series, and you got an invite to that. But that was perhaps the start of some eventful activities in the golf course for you last year, because you managed to play at Wentworth and didn't complete the round because of a forest fire. Can you talk us through that? That was quite dramatic. The pictures were incredible, weren't they?
Yeah, Wentworth was the final day after playing the Northants and the Berkshire after a cut. So I made that cut, and then we got to... Well, we could see the fire from about... Well, when we were on hole 2, I could see smoke already, but it was miles away, so no one really thought much of it. And then I was kind of going down hole 9. You kind of ran along next to where you could see it quite well. And then we carried on playing because no one said anything, so... just went about our business, and then I think I got to around hole 13, 14, and there was ash all like going on the green, and then there was a big bang because it like jumped the railway or something like that. So then we kind of thought it's going to be quite serious, but we were still told to carry on playing. But then finally they brought us in. And then they said, "Oh, we'll be back tomorrow." I was thinking, I don't know how you're going to put this out by tomorrow. So then, obviously, they couldn't put it out. So that was the round got cut short. But it was still really good to play Wentworth, because I think it was the first women's professional event we played on the West Course.
Yeah, that's right.
So that was really cool to be a part of. Like, teeing off right in front of the clubhouse down the first was really cool.
Now, this theme of natural disasters whenever you played golf was fairly common last year, Lottie. If you wouldn't mind giving me your schedule for this year, I'll try and avoid wherever you're going, because it seems to be fairly eventful, shall we say. Can you talk us through the English Girls Championship as well at Sandy Lodge, and your emotions on that one, because it wasn't fire that was the problem there. It was a deluge, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was kind of the opposite of the Rose Ladies series. It wasn't like 30 degrees fire. It was torrential storms and rain. But yeah, it was definitely an interesting week. The first round, I didn't even get to the course because obviously I had a later tee off and it had already flooded by then. So the first round was called off. I think some people had only played a couple of holes. So then it was going to be 54 holes. So we played another 18. And then there was a cut for the last 36. I didn't play my best in the first round, but then I had a pretty good second round, which would have been the third round, but of par. So I was 4 back going into the final round. So I knew I needed quite like a fast start, which I got because I got 5 under through the first 6. So I kind of jumped up the leaderboard, which is quite nice. And then I got to hole 14, where I was about to hit my approach shot into the par 5. So I was hoping I could get another birdie there. And I was 2 in front at that time. And then there was like a klaxon because there was like a couple of cracks of thunder. So we all went in and thought, oh, we'll just come back out in like half an hour or so. But the weather didn't really decide that because it started pouring. So then obviously it flooded again. So that meant the last round was cancelled. So they went back to the 36 holes. So obviously I was in 8th then because obviously I had quite a good final round going on. So obviously it was really disappointing, but I guess England Golf did everything they could because we waited ages. We were in the clubhouse for a few hours, so we waited until the last possible second, but it was getting too dark and everything, so we couldn't finish it. But I still took lots of positives from the week because it was really good being in contention and having the chance to win, and then hopefully I can take that on to other events.
Yeah, I mean, we have to say it was heartbreaking for you because you were making a charge through the field in the third round. But congratulations to Davina who won and won by birdie in the first playoff hole. So she definitely did well to win that event. Was that quite difficult for you to handle? Because one of the outstanding things from last year, Lottie, was how you handled that disappointment and how gracious you were when other people might have thrown their toys out the pram and been cursing their luck. Was that something that taught you a little bit about yourself and something that you feel quite proud of looking back on it? Yeah,
I was definitely disappointed, or especially I was pretty disappointed for like the whole rest of that day because obviously I was trying to win and I had a very good chance of winning. But then as soon as that day was gone, I kind of just moved on from it. And then took all like the positives from that round and the whole tournament. And then it kind of helped me going into my next kind of few events after that. It just helped me kind of put in perspective that I played well, and it just control what you can control really, because you can't really control the weather. But then it did help me because I played a month or so later, I played the Frilford Scratch Salver, which I ended up winning. So that kind of felt really nice because I kind of got rewarded for my good play after that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to finish this theme of weather stories, your Clutch Pro Tour event at Berkhamsted, you managed to not complete that either because it was a complete washout as well, and you couldn't come back the next day to compete because it was been rearranged. So that kind of summed up some events for you last year, didn't it?
Yeah, I didn't even start playing that one. I was meant to be teeing off at like 8, so we left the house at 6 or so, and I got there and then it was just we couldn't play that day, and then I couldn't make it the next day, which was really annoying. But I played quite a few of the other Clutch Pro Tour events, but they're really well run, and I really enjoyed playing in some of those. And they kind of started my season off because there wasn't many amateur events available at the time, so it really helped me get back into competing.
Absolutely. I think they call it character building, these sort of experiences, Lottie, so it'll stand you in good stead. Now, just looking ahead to 2021, you touched on it earlier, the new England Golf event taking place at your home club in Farnham in Surrey. This sees the best young talent, under 18 talent, both boys and girls, taking part, going head to head for the one trophy. Now, I know you've spoken about this in the past, but as it becomes ever closer, are you getting more and more excited about taking part at your home club and potentially beating the boys?
Yeah, definitely. I've been a member at Farnham for my whole life, pretty much, since I was 7 or so at the junior academy. So I know the course well, to say the least, but I'm definitely excited to play against the boys as well, because we've had events in the past where we've played together but not for the same trophy. So like we've played in the same groups but not for the same trophy. So this will be different, and I know that definitely the girls will want to beat the boys and the boys will want to beat the girls. So there'll be quite a lot of competition to see who comes out on top. But Farnham's a really nice course, and it's always in good condition. So I think everyone will really like it.
Good stuff. Have any of the boys squad been in touch? Have you had any messages from them asking for local advice yet?
No, not yet. I'm going to try and let all the girls on first.
Quite right. That's the way to do it. Good. Now, also, just looking ahead, Lottie, you've decided to go to America in 2022. You've already signed up for Florida State University. What's the thinking behind that? I mean, on the face of it, it's a great opportunity where you're just kind of knocked out with the facilities and the chance to broaden your horizons by moving across the pond.
Yeah, I think it's a really good opportunity going to America to continue my golf and then also get a degree as well. And I kind of think it's like the next step up before hopefully turning professional, because you kind of treated like a professional more over there. Like you travel around the whole country, you play a really top schedule, and you've got amazing facilities as well as the coaching teams out there. So I'm really looking forward to going there. And I spoke with quite a lot of different coaches over the summer. We couldn't visit it this year because usually we'd want to visit before I committed, but obviously COVID had different ideas. So I spoke to loads of the coaches and then eventually decided on Florida State University, which I was really happy with my decision. I just loved the coaching team there, the facilities, the tournament and schedule and everything else about it. So I'm really looking forward to going there in 2022. And I know lots of people out there who are really enjoying it, and I guess they've got better weather in Florida than we do here as well.
Absolutely. And the weather, as we've touched on earlier, is the key thing in your golfing career. Yeah. So if you can avoid forest fires, hurricanes, monsoons, anything like that, everything should be fine. Lottie, that's great. Really enjoyed chatting to you for the England Golf Podcast. I wish you well for 2021 season and everything you try and do with the England Girls squad and also as an individual, and we'll follow your progress with keen interest. And just to say that under 18s closed championship event at Farnham Golf Club takes place between June 24 and 27 this year, and it'll be extremely interesting to see if the girls can come out on top against the boys in that one. Lottie, thanks for your time.
Thanks.
Okay, let's catch up with what's happening in and around England golf with the news roundup. England Golf has extended its winning partnership with Adidas Golf. The new multi-year deal will see Adidas provide team apparel, footwear and accessories to the England national squads and teams across all genders and age categories. Commenting on the deal, England Golf Chief Executive Jeremy Tomlinson welcomed the Adidas partnership as it aligns with the values of the national governing body on matters of inclusivity and sustainability both on and off the course. England Golf's women's and girls squads have been named for the 2021 season. There are 4 rookies in the 6-strong girls squad and 3 newcomers to the women's selection. Surrey's Lottie Woad and Northumberland's Rachel Gourley retain their places in the girls squad and are joined by Maggie Whitehead, also from Northumberland, Dubai-based Chiara Noya, and Somerset duo Patience Rhodes and Davina Zan. Essex golfer Lily Mae Humphreys and Cornwall's Emily Toy are familiar faces in the women's squad and are joined by Cumbria's Caitlin Whitehead, who steps up from the girls' squad, Hampshire's Emma Allen and Talia Kirby from Buckinghamshire. The women and girls will take part in home internationals at Woodall Spa in August and European team events throughout the year. Hats off to England golf selector and Sky Sports presenter Sophie Walker for volunteering as a helper at vaccination centres in her native northwest. Also a big well done to Grimsdyke Golf Club in Middlesex for transforming its clubhouse into a vaccination centre. Here's Office Administrator Louise Glasgow.
Everyone's been very supportive of the fact that we're doing this vaccine centre. And they all just can't wait to get back and play golf. 4 of us that work for the golf club, we've been doing shifts for the vaccine centre as well, like in our furlough time, so it's been really good.
The England Golf Working Group on the subject of the independent golfer has announced it will now meet every week and present regular updates to all affiliated clubs on the development of the new connectivity platform. The platform, due to be launched later in 2021, will offer a WHS handicap index and personal liability insurance to independent golfers and aims to develop a stronger bond between golfers and local clubs with the ultimate aim of encouraging a move along the pathway to golf club membership. And finally, congratulations to Performance Manager for Women's Golf Becca Hembra and Women and Girls in Golf Manager Lauren Spray for graduating from the R&A's Women in Golf Leadership and Development Programme. Lisa Jones, an England Golf Regional Coach, is also making strides in her personal development by flying the flag for golf on UK Sports Female Coaches Leadership Programme. And that's your latest news roundup from England Golf. Our last guest on the podcast is by no means least when it comes to achievements in the world of golf. You could perhaps say that Georgia Hall was destined to reach the very top of the game. Born just 2 days after Nick Faldo won the 1996 Masters with an epic comeback against Greg Norman, her parents named her after the state which hosts the event. After picking up a club age 7 and then joining Ferndown Golf Club, her natural talents soon shone through. A star of the amateur game with England Golf, Georgia is now a global star. Ranked 39 in the world, she has 1 major and regular tour wins in Europe, America and Australia under her belt. Oh, and she's also earned herself a trip to Buckingham Palace to pick up an MBE. After speaking with current England Golf squad players during an online Q&A session, I caught up with Georgia to discuss her amateur days, her success to date, ambitions for the season, and her role in the development of women's golf. Georgia, thanks for joining us on the England Golf podcast. Now, you've previously done a Q&A for all our national squads and players, which was extremely interesting. The thing that grabbed me was we know you as the British Women's Open champion from 2018, Solheim Cup winner, multiple winner on tour, but you joined the England Golf squad aged 11. Can you just tell us about that? That seems extremely young to be elevated to a national squad player.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of scouted. I got a phone call once to say if someone from England Golf can come in and watch me play 9 holes. So of course I was very nervous, and I played 9 holes, thought I'd done okay, and then 2 weeks later I got a phone call saying, can I, join the Southwest squad? So Yeah, it was very special to me. I was, of course, very nervous, but it was great to be involved and be with England golf for so long.
Even at that stage, was it your ambition to be a professional golfer? Were you driven from that early age to make that your career goal?
Yeah, definitely. When I was 10 years old, of 10 handicap, it was, so great for me, and I was, so excited about things to come, and I really loved playing golf and just competing and playing competitively. So being involved in such a team environment and great golf courses as well, and meet some new players was very special.
And you were elevated to the women's squad at a very early age as well. Can you just talk us through that? That must have been quite daunting for you as a teenager, being pushed at that level.
Yeah, of course I was like 14 or 15, and I was playing with these 22-year-olds and 23-year-olds, and definitely was a little bit like, oh wow, am I good enough to be in here? And I played for the Ladies Home Internationals and got picked for all the teams, and it was just a great experience to play with people. Also, mostly they hit it further than me when I was only 15, so I had to try and keep up with them, and it made me a better player, I think.
When you look back to these amateur days, Georgia, do you do so with great fondness? Did it help make you the player you are today? Were there particular experiences that you still draw on nowadays when you're playing LPGA or representing Europe, for example, in a Solheim Cup?
Yeah, it definitely gave me a lot of experience, and having loads of people come out to watch and playing in a team environment under a lot of pressure. It really, held me well for when I turned pro. I was a little less nervous, and I kind of knew about travelling abroad, so it definitely helped.
You mentioned that you were driven to be a pro from a very early age, so if we can fast forward to 2018 in Royal Lytham, which is a remarkable achievement for one so young, you looked remarkably calm for that whole week, and on the Sunday when the pressure was at its highest. Were you calm, or was it that image of a duck on a lake, all very serene on the top, but a lot of paddling going on underneath?
I was slightly nervous. As the holes went on, I was absolutely fine, to be honest, but it was up until the 18th tee shot, I was shaking quite a lot, and I was just happy to make contact with the golf ball. And yeah, I was very relieved when that hole was over. Obviously, it's not the easiest hole in golf. The 18th, very long hole as it is, and even having a 4-iron into that par 4, I just wanted to get it on the middle of the green. So I think I coped pretty well with it. It's just so nice to see so many people supporting me.
To win a major on home soil, that must be, incredible. Can you describe your feelings as you walk up 18? I know you still had work to do, but were you able to enjoy the moment? Were you able to take it in?
It was an absolute dream, really. It's better than I ever thought it would be. I couldn't actually believe how many people came out to watch. It was absolutely astonishing to see all them clapping and shouting my name and cheering for my putts to go in. I was overwhelmed by the sport, and it really did mean the world to me.
How did your dad manage to keep it together? Because he was obviously caddying for you for that event. How did he keep his cool?
I'm sure he was more nervous than I was, to be honest. But we didn't really speak about it. We just kind of focused on each shot, and obviously he was very proud, and what a great moment we had together.
Obviously, another highlight from your career is the Solheim Cup at Glen, which was truly spectacular in every sense. Can you just describe what that week was like? Because it was a real roller coaster, wasn't it? It was only on the very last day in the very last game when Europe prevailed. So can you kind of talk us through the week?
Well, it's very up and down. Of course, it was incredible to play at Glen. What a venue. And, we played so well as a team. And, it's very cold as well, and it was, very wet. And even like on Saturday afternoon, it was really, really tough conditions. All those people still stayed out to watch us. I couldn't believe it. And for it to be so close at the end, I didn't know what the scores was. No one else did. And for it to come down to Suzanne to hold that winning putt and then retire, it couldn't have got any better than that. It was so special for all of us.
Suzanne famously said that she didn't realise the putt was to win. She knew she had to. She knew she had to do something special in 18, but didn't realise that was it all over. But the way you all charged onto the 18th green after it, it soon became pretty clear. Is that a special memory still for you in golf? That whole celebration as a team.
Yeah, I do remember running onto the green, and I remember it also vividly now. And we were just so happy, and obviously so happy for her as well. That was her final ever putt that she got to hit, and it's such a special moment. My family was there as well, and for it to be so close and for us to win like the men did there a few years prior, especially, it's a great moment.
Do you think your England golf experiences, playing all the team events you did, Europeans, home internationals, helped you in that situation? Were you able to take things from that into Solheim Cups?
Obviously with England golf, you do play at nearly all your events as a team, so it gave me experience growing up to be in a team environment, and also to play foursomes four ball, which we don't ever do as a pro. So I definitely kind of knew the formats from there, and knew who I think would best partner me.
Solheim Cup again this year towards the end of the year, but this time in America. The Inverness Club in Ohio, I think, is the venue for it. Have you been there? Do you know the layout? Are you excited for it already, even though it's 7-8 months away?
Yeah, the LPGA played an event there. I think it was one of the first ones last year, and I didn't play in it, but I heard some really, really good things about it. I think it's very American, fairly long, I think. So I look forward to seeing it. I'm not sure if I'll see it before the week, but obviously a fantastic venue, and hopefully we get a lot of support.
Yeah, good stuff. And the Women's British Open this year at Carnoustie, a nice easy track for the tournament this year.
Yeah, I think it depends on the weather. If there's no wind at Carnoustie, it does play fairly easy. But the wind's always blowing anyway, so it will be a test, of course. And I do love Carnoustie. I think it's one of the best courses out there.
Yeah. Now you're also giving back to the game, Georgia. You've got a role with the R&A as an ambassador. You're a strong promoter of women and girls golf. And here at England Golf, we're obviously on the same page with that. Why do you feel it's important to be involved in such an initiative?
Well, I think anything I can do, even though I'm still quite early on in my career, is great, and I just want to help inspire the younger generation, and especially the females out there and the young girls who want to take up the sport, and to show them that it is possible to follow your dreams. And especially being ambassador for the R&A is always a fantastic honour for me. They're fantastic what they do. Also helping the younger generation and getting more people from all backgrounds into sport. So it's very special for me to be involved with them and for us to work together.
Do you still keep abreast of what's happening with the women and girls amateur game? Do you still look out for emerging talents, particularly in England?
Yeah, definitely. Also, there's a few amateurs that play in the majors, in the professional majors, and I've met a few of the England girls this year, and I try and make them feel as welcome as possible and get to know them. And of course, I think they must be very nervous, but it's great to meet as many as I can, and hopefully I'll see them on tour one day.
Does it feel strange being a role model at just 24?
Yes, I'd say so, a little bit, but if I can help even now, younger girls take up the game, or younger girls and boys, or even, people my age who want to take up the game but don't know how, then obviously it's great for the game of golf.
Well, you're a great ambassador for the game, Georgia, a great ambassador for England Golf and the R&A who you work with, and we wish you well for the season ahead. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Well, that's it for another episode of the England Golf Podcast. Thanks to my guests Georgia Hall, Lottie Woad and Dan Coughlan for providing their insight and thoughts. And remember, you can keep up to date with all that's happening around the world of club and amateur golf in England by checking out our website, that's englandgolf.org, and also by following us on social media. Just search England Golf and you'll find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook and LinkedIn. Hope you can join us again next time in the podcast, so until then, it's bye for now.